Mom's coming home from the hospital tomorrow. I braced myself and told my husband and son. They both stared at me, their eyes wide with shock. You couldn't blame them for being surprised. For the past year, Mom had been in a coma. Doctors said there was no hope of recovery, basically giving up on her. My husband Tom looked awkward, but my son Michael seemed genuinely worried about Mom's condition. Coming home after being in a coma, is Grandma going to be okay? They called it hospice care. She's coming home to spend her final days. So they've totally given up on treating her, and that's why she's coming home? Lots of families feel that way. They don't want their loved ones to pass away in a hospital. Hearing this, my husband snorted and gave me a mocking look. Ugh, this is the worst. She's not setting foot in this house, got it? Seriously, think about it. It's a huge pain. We haven't seen her in ages, and now we're supposed to take care of her? It's just going to cause fights. She should just stay in the damn hospital. I desperately tried to convince them, but they wouldn't listen. Then Tom just slapped divorce papers down in front of me and kicked me out. After filing the divorce papers at the courthouse, I went to the hospital to cancel Mom's discharge. But there she was, Mom, who was supposed to be bedridden, standing right in front of me in a suit. I stood there completely stunned. Mom just grinned and said, "Well, let's go." Huh? What's going on? Where Mom was headed was, "My name is Karen. I'm 40 years old. I've been married to my husband Tom for 15 years. We have one son, Michael, who's in 8th grade this year and deep in his rebellious phase. Lately, he's been making snarky comments about Tom and me arguing over his education and the cost. Tom and I haven't spoken much this past year. When we do talk, it's usually just about how shaky our finances are. Things got even worse last year when my mother, Elizabeth, suddenly collapsed from an illness. Right now I have a pretty normal family with my husband who works a corporate job, but I actually grew up in a fairly well-off family. When I was a student, being good at both academics and sports was just expected. Defying my education-obsessed mother was absolutely forbidden. Thanks to Mom's strict upbringing, I got the excellent grades she expected. But during puberty, I started feeling suffocated by it all. I constantly dreamed of becoming independent from her. When I was in high school, my father passed away and Mom took over his company. She became incredibly busy. I thought finally I'll be free from Mom, but her surveillance only got stricter. You go straight to the affiliated university. Your job is already set at our company. In college, you need to actively pursue activities that will result in significant achievements. Just coasting along won't get you financial or emotional independence. Mom always spoke as if she could read my mind. Every time, I found myself carefully watching her reactions. I knew Mom's educational philosophy was right in a way. After all, things other kids had to struggle for were just handed to me by her. I had a pretty tough time before I married your father, you know. I don't want you to think your current life is just normal. But because you have these advantages, there are many things you can experience. Be grateful for that. I felt like Mom poured everything into my life because of her own past struggles. It became a heavy burden weighing me down. She was especially strict about ballet. There are children who want to learn but can't. I understood how she felt, maybe painfully well. But back then I was secretly rebelling. I have to find a way out of this life on my own. With that thought, after starting college, I secretly started going to parties. If I get a boyfriend, my life will change drastically. I was embarrassingly desperate back then. But Mom, adding fuel to the fire, started meddling in my love life too. One day at lunch, unaware of my feelings, she brought it up out of the blue. "Karen, you're in college now. Have you thought about marriage?" I want to get married right now and leave home, I thought. But facing Mom, I couldn't say it. I don't have time between studying and lessons. Besides, I go to an all-girls school. There's no way I'd meet anyone. How could I possibly get a boyfriend living like this? Mom looked me straight in the eye, passing judgment. Her words felt cruel back then. "If you're not married by 25, I'll arrange a marriage for you. It's always better to do things early. There's a good man at our company. He's very sincere and would be a wonderful husband and employee." "That's so sudden. By 25? That's way too soon." But Mom calmly stated, "I married your father when I was 23. Getting married at 25 is actually quite late. Call it old-fashioned if you want, but this is decided." My whole life had been decided by Mom. If I didn't find a boyfriend during college, just thinking about it made me dizzy. I don't want to live my life just following Mom's orders. I'll definitely regret it if I don't do something. I absolutely have to find a boyfriend before I start working. If I miss this chance, I'll end up marrying someone I don't even like. But I just couldn't meet anyone I seriously considered marrying. Just finding any boyfriend wouldn't work if I wasn't married by 25. Without mom's pressure about marriage, I probably could have enjoyed those parties more. While I was stressing about this, suddenly I was already a junior in college. My friends who used to go to parties with me were busy starting their job hunts. It's probably impossible to find someone on my own now. I was starting to give up. Just then, at a party, I experienced love at first sight for the very first time. People have pointed it out before, but I finally realized I was quite focused on looks. Even though I was seriously looking for a husband, I fell for someone based on appearance. How pathetic. But I was determined. I'm definitely going to marry this man. I went up and started talking to him proactively. That was my current husband, Tom. At first, Tom wasn't interested in me at all. Worse, even though he came to the party, he didn't try to mingle with anyone. Honestly, I shouldn't even be here. I just came because they needed numbers. I don't have time to mess around, so try someone else. My friends were completely turned off by his curt attitude, but I was convinced. I'm going to marry this guy. I persisted, forcing him to talk to me. It turned out his life was the complete opposite of mine. He was struggling financially, attending university on scholarships and loans. If you have scholarships, why do you need to work so much? My dad's family kicked me out as soon as I graduated high school. I kind of thought they'd support me through college, so now I'm struggling. I had no idea living expenses would be this much. I'm juggling 3 part-time jobs this week alone, and I haven't had a day off in the last month. I can't focus on studying, so I might lose my scholarship. Digging deeper, I learned his parents had disappeared when he was young. He was left with his paternal relatives, living with just his uncle. He mentioned that family home had already been sold off due to debt. Hearing his story, I instantly decided I had to support him. I practically forced him to exchange numbers right there. I started contacting Tom regularly. Even though we weren't even dating yet, I ended up talking to Mom about him. I never thought I'd voluntarily discuss my love life with Mom, but I was so focused on finding ways to help Tom that I wasn't thinking straight. I offered Tom financial help, but he flatly refused, and it became harder to contact him. You think you alone can support this guy you fell for at a party, Karen? I know, but I thought maybe I could do something. If I helped him financially, maybe he could focus on his studies. The fact that you're asking me shows you haven't thought this through yourself. Acting naive will only embarrass you and inconvenience him. Be very careful about your actions. As always, Mom just stated the logical facts, and I was just trying to act based on emotions. Besides, being offered money by a woman you're not even dating, no matter how broke he is, of course he'd be scared off. Oh no, that's bad. But I couldn't take back what I said. Seeing my obvious distress, Mom gave me a rare, gentle smile. I know exactly what you'd be thinking, Karen. I struggled quite a bit myself before marrying your father. People who are struggling often see handouts from the rich as an insult. When I was dating your father, I insisted on paying for everything on dates. Looking back, it was such foolish pride. You don't understand that, do you? Mom's words were persuasive. I couldn't argue and just fell silent. Then, Mom gave me some precise advice. Mom was right, as usual. And he's getting scholarships to attend university, right? He might be struggling, but he can probably figure things out himself. Yeah, that makes sense. I heard it's a really good university. When I told Mom the name of Tom's university, her eyes widened. She leaned forward in her chair. I doubt such a smart guy would bother with someone like you, Karen, but if fate brought you together, I guess it can't be helped. That was the first time I realized Mom judged men by their education. From then on, Mom was very positive about Tom. She even encouraged me to invite him over before we officially started dating. Tom was also a junior, job hunting like me. No one local didn't know Mom's company name. It felt a bit sneaky, but I told Tom about Mom's company. As expected, Tom jumped at the information. Getting a job offer was really tough back then. I managed to get Tom over for dinner. I basically pressured him into dating me. Mom started supporting our relationship from behind the scenes. Well then, please take good care of Karen. We believe in strict discipline here. To prepare her to be your wife, I'm thinking of having my daughter work part-time for a while." "Oh, okay. What should I do during that time?" "Tom, you're very talented. I can tell as a business owner. So feel free to make my daughter work hard. Please look after my daughter until she graduates college." The phrase, "until she graduates college," bothered me. But our relationship now had Mom's official approval. However, following Mom's instructions, I started supporting Tom's living expenses. We agreed my part-time earnings would cover Tom's rent. With that, Tom and I started living together in that apartment. Thanks to that, Tom could focus on his studies and graduated on schedule. As promised long ago, I started working at Mom's company. Tom felt bad about relying on my mother. He kept job hunting until the very last minute. His efforts paid off and he landed a job at the company where he still works today. A year later, Tom proposed. Everything was going perfectly smoothly. I had no complaints. Could there be any greater happiness than marrying the person I love? Mom, who used to be so critical of me, hadn't said a word since I started dating Tom. There's no way she'll oppose the marriage. Feeling confident, I went to tell Mom about our engagement. I visited her in the president's office at the company. Actually, Tom proposed. I know I'm still young, but there's no reason to refuse. Tom and I will come by the house later to formally announce it, but I wanted to tell you first so you wouldn't be surprised. But Mom's reaction was unexpectedly harsh. "If you intend to marry Tom, you need to leave this house." "Of course, we'll be starting a new family. Besides, I don't even live at home right now." I couldn't quite grasp what Mom meant, but I vaguely sensed it meant being cut off completely. As I stood there silently, Mom spelled it out clearly. "From now on, we are strangers. And of course, you are to have nothing to do with this company either. If you still intend to marry Tom, submit your resignation by tomorrow. You understand what this means, don't you, Karen? This is important, but I can't give you time to think." I couldn't understand why Mom opposed my marriage to Tom. I couldn't think of any reason why she would do that. This must be some kind of sick joke. "I will never approve of your marriage to Tom, Karen. This isn't a joke or a test. It's how I truly feel." Mom's gaze felt like she was testing me. Even if I asked why I wasn't confident, I'd accept her reason. But if I gave up marrying Tom now, I knew I'd regret it forever. Fine. Then I'm okay being strangers with you, Mom. I'll leave home to marry Tom. I declared this, left the president's office, and packed my things that very day. I chose to give up my old life, marry Tom, and cut ties with my mother. A year later, our son Michael was born, but I didn't tell Mom. Since then, my days were filled with housework, childcare, and working part-time to help make ends meet. It was far from the luxurious life I had living at home, but I was happy. Then one day I got a call from Sarah, Mom's longtime secretary. I figured Mom had asked her to call to check on me. But this time, Sarah, who was usually calm and collected, sounded panicked. Her voice was trembling, and she was stumbling over her words. I knew immediately something was wrong. "Hello, Sarah. What's wrong? You sound so flustered." "The president. Elizabeth collapsed. She's unconscious, in critical condition, taken to the hospital. You're her only relative, Miss Karen. Could you please come to the hospital?" I explained the situation to my part-time job and got permission to leave early. I rushed straight to the hospital where Mom had been taken. By the time I arrived, Mom was already hooked up to an overwhelming number of IV drips and a ventilator. Seeing Mom looking so frail, I was lost for words. Sarah was sitting beside her. The atmosphere was heavy. Sarah was slumped over, her eyes red and swollen. Like me, she seemed unable to find words, just looking at me silently. I greeted Sarah. It had been about 10 years since I last saw her. "It's been a long time. I'm her daughter, Karen. How's my mother doing now?" The doctors did everything they could to sustain her life, but they don't think she will ever wake up. I had thought, ever since we became estranged, that I wouldn't cry no matter what happened to Mom. But seeing her looking so vulnerable, tears flowed naturally. Don't lose control in front of others. Mom had drilled that into me since I was little. But right now, I couldn't hold back the flood of emotions. "I see. Thank you for staying with her, Sarah. I'll take care of Mom from here. Could you please handle things at the company?" Sarah shook her head. As she did, a tear escaped her eye. "I'll stay here, Miss Karen. You must be busy with your own life. Please don't push yourself too hard. Try to continue your life as usual. Just call me and I can update you on your mother's condition immediately. In the end, I was persuaded to leave Mom's care to Sarah. I promised to visit Mom at the hospital once a week. That evening at dinner, I told Tom and Michael about Mom. Tom was so shocked he choked on his food. Michael, on the other hand, reacted indifferently. He barely remembered Mom, so talking about her suddenly probably didn't register much. I've decided to visit Mom at the hospital about once a week for a while. I'll go after my part-time shift, so dinner might be late sometimes, but her secretary, Sarah, asked me to keep living normally. I really should be the one taking care of Mom, but I feel like I'm imposing. We haven't spoken in years. Why do you have to take care of her? You mentioned before I met her once when I was 3, right? Seeing Tom's desperate face, Michael's mouth dropped open. Is it because Grandma is rich and owns a company? Tom, startled, dropped his bowl, and it shattered. I quickly cleaned it up. It's no wonder Tom was panicked. We were barely making ends meet, trying to pay for Michael's tuition. If Mom were to pass away, as her only daughter, I would inherit everything. That would solve all our family's financial problems. I slowly explained to Michael, who knew nothing. We were estranged, but I'm her only relative. And the reason your dad's reacting like this is my family was originally quite wealthy. Hearing about my background, Michael looked annoyed. Then why are we so poor? This house looks like it's ancient. Your father and I eloped because Mom disapproved of our marriage. But when you were 3, Michael, we hit rock bottom financially. That's when we inherited this house. It was originally your grandma's family home. After explaining everything, Michael still didn't seem fully convinced. Later in the bedroom, I explained Mom's condition and my responsibilities to Tom again. If Mom died, our current life would change completely. Even though I was her only blood relative, I could easily imagine disputes over the inheritance. I could renounce everything, but I wanted to discuss it with Tom first. You're the only blood relative, right? What's going to happen to your mother's company? Knowing her, she probably has a will drawn up, though. I'll subtly ask Sarah about that once things settle down. I'm not expecting any inheritance, but what about the company's management rights? Tom's company was struggling financially and his salary had been declining for years. He had been considering going independent, so Mom's company probably interested him. But it was impossible for me or Tom, who had never been involved in management, to take over Mom's company. Sure, I might be the successor, but I've never managed a company. There's probably already someone within the company set to take over, so I'm thinking of renouncing the inheritance. Even though we were estranged, apparently I still have inheritance rights as her blood relative. Tom put his hand on my shoulder, his expression serious, trying hard to persuade me that maybe I could take over your mother's company. It would be a waste to let this chance slip away. You're about to throw away the company your mother built, Karen. Maybe, but we don't even know what will happen with Mom yet. And I doubt she can return to work from her condition. I doubt it, Tom snapped irritably. I stared at him, wide-eyed and silent. I felt a chill run down my spine, realizing Tom seemed happy about Mom's critical condition. But Tom, oblivious to my reaction, continued relentlessly. There's no way we can continue living like this. If we take over the company, our money problems will disappear. This could be the break we've been waiting for. I've been honing my management skills at my job for years. We have to use this. Karen, you absolutely should not renounce the inheritance. I couldn't say anything back. It was true that our current life was financially difficult. Even if I have inheritance rights, taking over the business suddenly is impossible. The people around Mom would never allow it. Still, you're the rightful heir, aren't you? You're her only daughter. It's only natural that management rights would come to you. From that day on, Tom's attitude changed completely. He started researching Mom's company and the people involved. He even seemed to be studying inheritance law in his spare time. Seeing Tom so fired up actually made me feel worse. Thinking about my life with Mom, I couldn't accept her critical condition. I couldn't focus on anything, making mistakes at home and work. Even though we'd been estranged for so long, I realized Mom was still my emotional anchor. Tom's comments and actions regarding Mom's condition were insensitive, but he was supporting me well through my recent mistakes. In 15 years of marriage, he'd never helped this much with housework. 3 months had passed since Mom collapsed. On days when I came home late from visiting Mom, I increasingly found all the housework done. I shouldn't dampen this enthusiasm, I thought, so I decided not to say anything unnecessary. Wow, what's this? The house is so clean. It's the tidiest it's been since we moved in. Yeah, well, I've been reflecting on things. Figured I should help out more around the house. You've seemed out of it since your mom collapsed. Michael was worried about you too. I couldn't genuinely appreciate Tom's actions. If it weren't for the situation with Mom, I would have been thrilled. But ever since his obsession with the inheritance became clear, the situation felt painful. Fearing he'd notice, I forced a smile and lied. Thank you. I'm so happy. I'm really glad I married you, Tom. Though I forced the words out, my complicated feelings about Tom wouldn't go away. Another 3 months passed. There was still no sign of Mom waking up. While cleaning, I found a private investigator's invoice in the trash. Tom had hired someone to investigate Mom's background. Realizing this, I felt sick to my stomach. Tom was secretly digging into Mom's finances and connections. Was inheriting Mom's money really that important to him? If we just lived normally, we could manage financially, even if we had to cut back. It wasn't my scheduled visiting day, but I grabbed the invoice and headed to the hospital. As a responsible adult, I needed to prepare myself to accept Mom's final moments calmly. I understood that, but right now I needed more time to process everything. In the hospital room, I held Mom's hand and talked about Tom's strange behavior. Of course, Mom, in her critical state, couldn't answer, but somewhere deep down, I was hoping for a miracle, that Mom would wake up. I hadn't achieved emotional independence from Mom. Tom's been acting so strange lately, but maybe it's my fault for not being strong enough. Still, being blinded by money is scary, isn't it? What would you do, Mom? Am I just being childish because I can't get my emotions sorted out? I finished telling Mom everything about Tom's actions. Just then, Sarah entered the room. Miss Karen, it's not like that at all. Allow me to offer some advice on the president's behalf. Many people change when inheritance is involved. So for now, let's just wait for Tom to calm down. Sarah had apparently overheard my entire confession. Knowing everything about Tom's actions, Sarah told me this. Actually, the company has been operating at a loss for the past 10 years. Even if the president passes away, Miss Karen, you would only inherit debt. Shocked, I pressed Sarah for details. For 10 years? Since around the time you transferred the house to me? She wanted to protect at least the family home before it was seized by creditors, so she transferred it to you. I was stunned, finally understanding the reason Mom transferred the house instead of giving financial help. I hadn't noticed the worried look on Mom's face back then. This really cuts our ties. Don't contact me again. For the next 10 years, Mom had desperately tried to keep the company afloat, but her efforts were in vain. The company continued to lose money, accumulating massive debt. The stress must have taken its toll, leading to her collapse. Yes, the inheritance rights belong to you, Miss Karen, but the debt is substantial, so you'll likely need to go through the process of renouncing the inheritance. I took notes on Sarah's advice, listing what needed to be done. After returning home, I told Tom about the situation. His face turned furious, like a demon, and he started yelling at me. Marrying a weirdo like you was the biggest mistake of my life. What's gotten into you all of a sudden? I had your mother investigated, so I already knew. The only thing that woman ever did for me was give us this house. Tom sounded angrier than ever before. Hearing the commotion in the living room, Michael peeked out from his room. When I married you, Karen, your mother told me, take care of Karen, who's desperate for romance, and I'll let you inherit. To think it all turned into paying off debt. What a joke. So you made some secret deal with Mom? Then you knew from the start you could inherit, even if we were cut off? Tears of anger welled up involuntarily. Seeing me, Michael sighed heavily. Seriously? A grown woman crying? How pathetic. I heard you grew up privileged, Mom, but you really are clueless about the world. His words, despite our estrangement, sounded exactly like Mom's. It startled me. Seeing a reflection of Mom in my son, I tried to compose myself, needing to be strong. Michael looked annoyed, but I explained our current situation. So even if Grandma has huge debts, it doesn't really matter to us? If we can just keep living like we are now, I don't really care. I'm glad you understand. But Tom didn't understand. After this incident, our marriage deteriorated. We were essentially living separate lives within the same house, avoiding each other as much as possible. Michael suggested I try to stay out of the house more. Mom's hospital had facilities where relatives could stay overnight, but using them was impossible given our current financial situation. Being the house I once loved felt suffocating. I thought I had built my ideal family, but it was just my selfish fantasy. There was no hope left in our completely broken home. No matter how much I talked about ideals, the reality of financial hardship wouldn't change. Seeing my state, Sarah offered to arrange a hotel room using company funds. Knowing the extent of the company's debt, I politely declined Sarah's kind offer. I returned home just before midnight to find the living room light still on. Unusually, Tom initiated conversation. Looks like all of your mother's assets are going to be seized by creditors after all. Is that why you were up so late researching that? It's important, isn't it? I already told you that's what Sarah told me. Tom sighed deeply, making me shrink back. Seeing this, Tom scoffed at me. This is why you're stuck in this poor life, Karen. Sarah is just an outsider. She could be lying, hoping to get her hands on your mother's inheritance. You can't rule that out. You have to investigate properly yourself. What kind of way is that to talk? There's no way Sarah would lie. Maybe she was telling the truth this time, but she could be hiding assets. She was always hovering around your mother. There has to be a reason. Otherwise, why would anyone take care of someone like that? A year had passed since Mom fell into critical condition. When I went for my usual visit, Sarah had a grave expression. We'd like you to be here for the president's final moments, Miss Karen. Her words startled me. Since they declared from the beginning there was nothing more they could do, I knew Mom's time must be near. Then let's bring Mom back to the family home. The thought came to me suddenly, and I discussed it with Sarah. I want her final moments to be in her childhood home. In that house? What about Tom and Michael? Tom is blinded by the inheritance. Don't you think he has absolutely no right to object to Mom being there? Sarah smiled and agreed with my opinion. Although my broken family now lived there, it was Mom's cherished childhood home. Upon returning home, I immediately explained the plan for Mom's final care to Tom and Michael. Mom's coming home from the hospital tomorrow. They both stared, eyes wide with shock. It wasn't surprising they were shocked. Mom had been hospitalized for a year, unconscious and critical. Doctors had completely given up, saying there was no hope of recovery. Tom seemed to understand, but Michael, still confused, remained stunned. Coming home after being in a coma? What's Grandma's condition like? They said it's for hospice care, so she can spend her final moments at home. What? Why? The hospital has better equipment and stuff. Some families don't want their loved ones to pass away in a hospital. I'm one of them. I want Mom to spend her last moments in her childhood home. Tom, who had been listening quietly, suddenly yelled, Ugh, this is the worst. She's not setting foot in this house. This house was originally my family home, Mom's childhood home too. Tom had no right to say such things. Hey, how dare you say that? Michael, who usually stayed out of it, seemed to have thoughts this time and spoke up. Seriously, think about it. It's a huge pain. It's fine if she comes home, but just die quickly. Mom gave us this house out of kindness. Tom, furious, unleashed all the frustration he'd bottled up since Mom became critical. So what? She's practically dead already, right? I investigated when she was first admitted. That woman has no assets, no inheritance. Taking care of someone at home who's just going to leave behind debt? Unbelievable. Tom continued. I'll take this house as alimony, so you can go take care of your mother somewhere else. I desperately tried to persuade them, but they refused to listen. Worse, Tom threw divorce papers at me. The moment I found out there was no inheritance, I decided to divorce you and got these papers ready. I've already signed them. All that's left is your signature, Karen. Seeing the divorce papers, I was speechless. My hands started shaking from the shock. Since there's nothing to inherit, there's no point in staying married. I'll raise Michael, so you just pay child support diligently. Michael seemed to agree with this plan. Just like that, I was kicked out of the house. My belongings were minimal, packed in a suitcase. Tom ordered me to file the divorce papers immediately. Numb with shock, I did as I was told and left the house. After filing the papers, I called my now ex-husband to report it. Thanks for everything. Now work hard to earn Michael's tuition. He said that curtly, then blocked my number as I couldn't reach him anymore. Clutching my suitcase, I went to the hospital to postpone Mom's discharge. Her final care would have to happen here at the hospital. I explained the family situation at the hospital reception. Actually, I had a fight with my family and need to postpone the discharge. Someone tapped my shoulder from behind. Startled, I turned around. It was Mom, who was supposed to be bedridden. You look quite worn out. I feel bad for putting you through this. My legs gave out and I collapsed. Mom looked down at me with an exasperated expression. She offered me her hand and helped me up. I tried to question her, but no sound came out. Well, let's go. She looked just like the healthy mom from before she collapsed. Am I dreaming? I rubbed my eyes. Huh? What's going on? Mom, explain. Finally forcing the words out, Mom ignored them and proceeded with the discharge process. I've been pretending to be bedridden for the past year. Why would you do that? Do you have any idea how worried I was? Mom just smirked. See, Karen, you really need a strong mother like me. After finishing the discharge paperwork, Mom checked her luggage and mine, then got into a taxi. Forced to accompany her, I was sweating from confusion. Where are we going? Just back to the place where I was supposed to be cared for. This whole thing proved something. Only you, Karen, actually care about me. Expected since we were estranged, but still. I have a few things to say to your ex-husband. How do you know we got divorced? I just filed the papers today. He was investigating me, so I investigated back. He was checking my assets when you two got married, too. So I expected him to do it again this time. I intend to have a thorough discussion this time. Oh, and all that company information that man got? It's all fake. Mom said this and laughed brightly. When we arrived home, Mom boldly opened the front door. A shocked Tom and Michael rushed to the entryway. I'm home. Just got back. Are the arrangements for my final care ready? Seeing Mom's sarcastic remark, Tom turned deathly pale. Michael tilted his head, confused, but then saw me behind Mom and seemed to understand. Wait, Grandma? I thought you were unconscious and critical. That's right, I'm your grandmother. You were so small, and look at you now. Well then, let's begin my final care, shall we? Are you ready too, Tom? Mom said this and confidently walked into the house. Tom just stared blankly at Mom. Don't just stand there zoning out. Get to the living room. Told what to do, Tom numbly returned to the living room. There, Mom began speaking cheerfully. Even though I was supposedly dying, you never visited. And apparently you investigated my background? Well, yes. Mom calmly replied to the faltering Tom. But I suppose I can give you this house and land. Michael seems attached to you, Tom, so I gave it to you as alimony, right? How did Mom know our family conversations? I couldn't help but wonder. Hearing Mom's words, Tom smirked nastily and puffed up his chest. Even if you've miraculously recovered, you're drowning in debt. You can't do anything. I'll gladly take this house. But the next moment, the sound of machinery echoed from outside. Why is there a hydraulic excavator outside the window? We're demolishing this house now. It's old and falling apart anyway. My final care is over. How dare you make a fool of me? Now we can have a clean break. At Mom's command, the large excavator's arm swung towards the house. Mom, what are you doing? As I screamed, Tom stood frozen in shock. Even the usually calm Michael started panicking. Demolishing it suddenly? What about our stuff inside? Oh, you hadn't packed yet? Didn't hear anything about it? Well, this house should be torn down anyway. After kicking Karen out, you don't need a house. Even Tom was intimidated by the situation and got on his knees begging Mom. Please, let it go this time. Don't you have memories in this house too, Elizabeth? Mom replied nonchalantly. No, not a single one. I had a hard life growing up in this house. My current power and status were all built by my husband from scratch. I have zero attachment to a place like this. The demolition was halted for that day. Because the divorce was so sudden, the house wasn't officially Tom's property yet. However, Tom started asserting his ownership claim. Mom listened to him with a smile, nodding along. I can honor that promise, but in return you'll lose everything important. You're pretty bold for someone drowning in debt. A few days later, Michael contacted me saying Tom had been fired from his job. Thanks to Mom pulling things, Tom's wrongdoings at the company were exposed. Mom deliberately went to the house and handed the deed to Tom. You understand that managing land and a house involves taxes, right? You've lost your job, and this house is your only asset. You should sell the deed to me right now. What are you planning? I'm saying I'll buy this land from you. You can use the money for living expenses. You're that desperate, aren't you, Tom? Defeated, Tom accepted an envelope full of cash from Mom. All right then. Never involve yourself with Karen or Michael again. And I know all about your misconduct at your former company. Don't expect to find any decent work from now on. Afterward, Tom scraped by with day labor jobs. Apparently, he had gotten his previous job through Mom's connections and received preferential treatment. I heard he constantly complained about the physical and mental exhaustion at his new work. This information came quickly because Tom was working for a subsidiary of Mom's company. Mom's anger towards Tom hadn't subsided yet. Terrifyingly, Mom later revealed she knew about Tom's suspicious behavior all along. That's why she had surveillance cameras and listening devices installed in the house. I was shocked to hear she'd been monitoring him even before pretending to be critically ill. Since Tom relinquished custody, Michael now lives with Mom and commutes to school. Michael is independent and tries not to rely on Mom, but Mom recognized Michael's academic excellence. "Michael, you're always so calm. Most people would lose their cool after something like this, but you go to school calmly and haven't let your grades slip at all. Impressive. Thanks to you, I'm used to trouble." Since dealing with Mom, Michael started respecting me more. This happened after Mom unilaterally changed his high school choice to a prestigious private one. I thought he'd be overwhelmed by Mom's educational approach, but Michael adapted quickly. "So this is the strict environment you grew up in, Mom?" "Yeah, I had no time to play. My desperate attempt to escape during college led to, well, that. But the biggest shock was Dad getting blinded by money and betraying you." "Yeah, but I was head over heels, you know. I really loved him." Since then, Michael's grades continued to improve steadily. He got into the high school Mom wanted, just as she expected. He's already decided on a top national university. Furthermore, Mom started making Michael take ballet lessons. Though told he started late, his instructor praised his ballet skills as potentially professional level. Defying the education-obsessed Mom is not allowed. It seems Michael will follow Mom's path for a while, just like I did. I didn't want to raise him the same way, but surprisingly, Michael finds this environment interesting. Mom's actions were shocking, but learning Tom had betrayed me over a decade ago, still I have my blood-related family. So today, I keep moving forward. Next month, Mom and I plan to go see Michael's ballet performance together.